So today we will study elimination reactions, right? So let us take the same example that we took before, that is our tertiary butyl halide, right? In this case, let us take bromide. Okay. So we saw that if we have given water, right, reacted this substrate with water, we ended up with tertiary butyl alcohol, right? So that was through SN1 mechanism. Okay, but in place of water, if we add, say, ethoxide, right, sodium ethoxide, which is a very strong base. The ethoxide ion is like this. Okay, in ethyl alcohol as solvent, and say at 55 degrees centigrade, right, at this higher temperature and with this strong base, right, we do get some alcohol, but majority of the product is not an alcohol but an alkene. Okay, so we ended up with this alkene product rather than alcohol, right? So greater than 90% is this alcohol, the alkene. The rest is some product of alcohol, substitution product, right? Now these kind of reactions where a molecule is eliminated or removed from the substrate is called elimination reactions. Here what has happened? You see, here we have removed a hydrogen from one of the methyl groups. So hydrogen is removed, proton, and a bromine atom is removed. So these two small atoms have been removed from this substrate to get this alkene, right? Such reactions are called elimination reaction, and particularly this reaction will be called dehydrohalogenation, because from D means to subtract, hydro from hydrogen, and halogenation. In this case it will be bromination, but commonly it is called halogenation. So this dehydrohalogenation is an example of elimination reaction. Okay, now let us see what in a general reaction what it looks like, right? Now as in the substitution reaction, here also we have a leaving group, right? This is an leaving group, right? And we have a base here, right? Same as substitution reaction, right? But the products are different due to the strength of the base. Okay, now see, if I draw this leaving group is attached to this carbon, right? Now we say that this carbon is alpha carbon. Alpha carbon is the carbon to which the functional group, or in this case the leaving group, is attached. The carbon that is adjacent to the alpha carbons are called beta carbons. So we have 3 beta carbons. Okay, and the hydrogen that is removed from the beta carbon is called beta hydrogens, right? Beta hydrogens. They are beta hydrogens. We have 9 beta hydrogens. Only one is removed from here. Okay. Now as the hydrogen that is removed is a beta hydrogen, this kind of substitution eliminations are often called beta elimination, right? Or they are also called in modern terminology as 1,2 elimination, because the atoms that are removed, right, in this case there's hydrogen and bromine are from the 1 and 2 position. 1 is respect to the leaving group, right, and 2 from the adjacent atom. So they are either called beta elimination or 1,2 elimination. Okay, now as before we are interested in the mechanistic pathways, right? So here you see, of course the mechanism will be different than that of substitution, otherwise the product we will not have the elimination product, the alkene, right? So now we will see the mechanism of these reactions. Now for elimination reactions, the mechanism is strongly dependent on the base we used and the temperature, right? So in the previous example we saw that the tertiary butyl bromide is subjected to a strong base at elevated temperatures, right? So it favored elimination. Whereas if it was subjected to just water, a weak base, nucleophile, right, at normal temperatures, at room temperature, then we would expect substitution product, right? Now see, this substitution always these nucleophilic substitutions are they always compete with the elimination reactions, right? There is always a competition. Now the example that we took, right, that is this tertiary butyl bromide, right? Now one thing is clear, we delivered to this example because here we can eliminate the probability of SN2 mechanism, right? Because we have these bulky groups, and so the backside attack is not possible, right? So no SN2 mechanism will occur here. In fact, it was found that this reaction with ethoxide ion, right, with the sodium ethoxide, right, giving rise to this alkene, the rate of this reaction is proportional to both the tertiary alkyl halide, right, and as well as the ethoxide ion. So this means what? This means that the transient state, right, this involves both this halide as well as the ethoxide ion. This means this is a bimolecular reaction, and so we called this one as elimination bimolecular, or we say it is an E2 mechanism. Now let us write the tertiary butyl bromide in Schauer's projection, right? So it will look like this, as we know. Now see, I am drawing it in staggered formation because that will be the most stable form of it. H. Okay. Now if you see the Newman, right, and if you are looking from this side, and if you see draw the Newman, it will look like this one. So there will be a CH3 here, there will be another methyl here, and a bromine will be just anti to the hydrogen, one of the hydrogens. Okay. Now a mechanism similar to SN2 was proposed to keep in track with the measurement of kinetic measurement, that this base here now, that is C2H5O, that is ethoxide ion, right, attacks this hydrogen, right, rather than attacking the carbon of the leaving group, right, which would lead to our substitution product. Why? Because now it is crowded, so the methoxide cannot attack the this carbon of the leaving group. So rather, as it is a very strong base, it picks up one of the hydrogen, right, and as it is picking up one of the hydrogen, this bond pair of CH, right, comes here to form a double bond, right, and at the same time this bond is pushed, this electron pair is pushed to bear to the leaving group, to leave it as the halide ion, giving rise to a transient state as in the case of SN2, H5O. Now we have what? A bond is forming between hydrogen and oxygen. The bond is breaking between hydrogen and carbon. We have this hydrogen here, it will be undisturbed as it is. Now here the carbon-carbon sigma bond is already there. The pi bond is beginning to form, right? Another bond, this bond is again breaking, and again we have these things here. Sorry. Okay. Now in this transition state, see this bond is forming, right? Similarly, this bond is also forming, right? And this bond is breaking, and simultaneously this bond is also breaking. So in the transition state, we have, for a E2 mechanism, we have two bonds that are forming and two bonds that are breaking, right? And ultimately we have the product, our desired product, that is double bond C and hydrogen. Okay, and what else we have? We have C2H5OH, that is ethyl alcohol, right, plus bromine minus. Of course it will be a sodium bromide because we have taken sodium ethoxide. So this is the mechanism for E2, right? One step mechanism, same as our SN2 mechanism, right? Because there is only one transition state, no intermediate is formed. In the transition state, both bond formation and bond breaking is taking place, and similarly the free energy diagram will also resemble that of SN2. See, energy, if we write it like this, this will also resemble that of SN2. So there will be only one hump, right? And this position will be for the reactants, and here they will be that of these products, right? And this position, the top of the hill, is the transition state, right? That is our this species. Now what will be the energy of activation? The energy of activation will be, the free energy of activation will be the energy difference between the transition state and the reactants. So this is our free energy of activation. And the free energy change of the reaction will be the energy difference between the product and the reactants. The important thing to note in the case of E2 mechanism is its stereochemistry, right? See, we have taken the anti-conformation of this butyl bromide, right? Tertiary butyl bromide, right? Now why is this taken in anti-position, right? See, not only that the Newman projection shows that this is the most stable conformation, but also, see, if you write the base here again, 5, these 5 atoms that are involved in the transition state, right? These 5 atoms that are involved in the transition state, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, they should remain in the same plane. They should remain in the same plane, right? Why? Then the pi orbitals that are on the carbon atoms, right, the p orbitals, right, they can easily form the pi bond. That's why they should be on the same plane. Otherwise, if they are on the different planes, right, then this kind of side-wise overlap is difficult to take place. For this formation of the pi bond, it is necessary these atoms are on the same plane. So there is, say, So these 5 atoms should be on the same plane, right? This thing and this one. So they are on the same plane, right? And this situation is called anti. As it is anti, the leaving group and the hydrogen that is abstracted by the base are in anti position, so it is called anti-coplanar. Coplanar means in the same plane, right? So anti-coplanar transition state is formed, right? So for E2 mechanism, it is very important that we have to form a anti-coplanar transition state, right? From that we will end up in the product. So this was our elimination by molecular mechanism. So we have learned the it is favored by strong base as well as at higher temperature, and the free energy diagram is similar to that of SN2. That means this is a single step reaction, right? This is again a single step reaction with a transition state, only one transition state, and that is anti-coplanar. Now if we take the same tertiary butyl halide and subject it to, in this case, a mixture of 80% ethyl alcohol and 20% water at normal temperatures, that is 25 degree, then interestingly we have two kinds of products, right? Now greater than 80% yield is substitution product, and less than 20% we get the elimination product, right? Elimination product, right? And more interestingly, in this case the rate is only proportional to the concentration of the tertiary butyl halide, right? Not the nucleophile or base. Okay, so in this case we can easily say that this reaction, whatever the mechanism, of course the substitution will be SN1, of course this will be SN1, right? This will be SN1, and this elimination will be our E1, right? Now this is elimination unimolecular. So the one is for unimolecularity. Now this means that in the transition state or the rate determining step, only one molecule is involved, right? And of course we get a mechanism that is similar to that of our SN1. So in step 1 we have this formation of carbocation, right? So this is the slow step and the carbocation is formed, tertiary butyl carbocation, which is in of course very stable due to all this hyperconjugation and plus I effects. Okay, and this Cl minus is the solvated. Now in the second step, that is important, right? So the first step is same for SN1 and SN2, right? Or E1, right? We cannot discriminate between anything, right? So the first step is SN1 and E1, right? It is same for both of them. So generation of the carbocation. It is the second step that determines which mechanism is following, right? Now if the solvent here, right, so we have nothing but just solvent like water and our alcohol, right? So in general we can write say RH, okay? So R can be either be H or say C2H5, right? Anything, right? So if this molecule now behaves as a nucleophile and attacks here, right, in the carbon, then you get substitution product, right? But if this molecule, so this attack here will give substitution, but if this molecule on the other hand abstracts, acts as a base and abstracts this proton here, right, and then what we get? We get E1 product, or we get this elimination product, that is the alkene. right? So the next step for E2 mechanism is this one, right? So you can just write it clearly like CH3, one of the methyl you should write something, say H2 and AH here, so that it is clear. And you have the lone pairs of the solvent, where R can be H or ethyl, right? And so that abstracts this proton here, and now this bond pair is pushed here to form the pi bond, and ultimately you get this product, right? And you get the protonated solvent. You get the protonated solvent, right? So sorry, I have read, it should be step 2, right? Okay, so this is the mechanism for E1. Now this E1 mechanism is possible only where stable carbocation is formed, right, like SN1. So only for tertiary butyl systems or tertiary alkyl halides this mechanism is possible, first of all. Second, also there is a competition between SN1 and E1, right? So at lower temperatures this SN1 will be favored. As you increase the temperature, so E1 mechanism will also be favored. And the free energy diagram will be same as that of SN1, right? So the free energy diagram will look like, so it will be free energy. So this is a good practice to always label the coordinates, right? So this is the reaction coordinate. So free energy diagram, so these are the reactants, right? So here it will be the alkyl halide plus whatever your solvent or RO or solvent, right? And ultimately here this is the intermediate, so this is your carbocation, and in this place this is the bond breaking transition state, right? So TS1, so it's a bond breaking and here it is the abstraction of the proton. This is the difference between the SN1 and E1. In this case you will have, so this bond is being broken, this bond is being formed, and this is being broken, right? So this is the this is our transition state 2, and ultimately we get the products here. So what are they? So you have CH2 plus the protonated solvent. Okay. So this is our free energy diagram for E1. So we saw that E1 is a two-step mechanism similar to SN1, where the first step is the production of carbocation and the second step is the abstraction of the proton. But if there the second step also follow the attack of the nucleophile, then we get a SN2. So SN1 and SN2 always compete, and in most of the cases SN1 prevails because we use the same type of conditions there, right? So they are favored by the same conditions, like we use weak bases that also favor SN1. So E1 will only be applicable to substrates that are tertiary. First of all, if it is only tertiary, and secondly the temperature is higher with weak bases, then only E1 mechanism will follow. Now as we have seen that substitution reactions always compete with elimination, right? The main reason for this is that a base is always a potential nucleophile, and a nucleophile can always act as a potential base, right? Because the reactive part for both the nucleophile and bases are the unshared pair of electron, right? So if it acts as a nucleophile, then we get substitution reaction, and if it acts as a base, then we get a elimination reaction, right? So we have already discussed that for SN1 reaction or E1 reaction, right? So SN1 and E1, right, this is only possible for tertiary alkyl halides, because stable carbocation is formed only by that by tertiary substrates, and this SN1 is favored at lower temperature, right, at lower temperatures, and as you increase the temperature, then elimination is favored, right? But let us now see more importantly, which is the more common reactions, that is SN2 versus E2. So which is favored under which conditions, right? Now let us take first the type of substrates, right? Now if you have primary or 1 degree substrates, right, then what will be favored? Now if you have, say, a substrate like, so it is just ethyl bromide, right? Now if this is subjected to a strong base at elevated temperature, suppose say ethoxide, so ETO minus ethoxide is there, right, and at say 50 degrees centigrade, then the major product is substitution product, right? So you get, so this is the main product, okay, so it is like nearly 90% of it, whereas you get the minor product, the ethane one, as nearly 10%. Why it is so? This is because as this is a primary alkyl halide and it is not hindered, right? So it is not hindered, so backside attack of the base is easily possible. That's why we get more substitution product rather than elimination, right? But if you take a 2 degree, right, suppose say CH3 Br and CH3, okay, now if you give the same base or nucleophile, whatever you can say, now this ethoxide here, rather than attacking here from the back side, because there are two bulky methyl groups, right, prefers to abstract the proton here, right? So here it more or less acts as a strong base rather than a nucleophile, and giving rise, as expected, to nearly 80% elimination product. So nearly 80% of this kind of product is okay, so this kind of product is obtained near 80%, and the rest 20% is something like this. So it is the substitution product. So you get this nearly 20%. Okay, this is only because due to steric hindrance. In the first case, in the primary alkyl halide case, this ethoxide can easily go and attack the carbon bearing the leaving group, right? Whereas here it faces some difficulty, and as a result it rather abstracts the proton than attacking the carbon atom, right? And as such you get elimination as the major product. For tertiary alkyl halides that we have just discussed, like tertiary butyl bromide or chloride, right? Now for these things, this kind of substrates, right, SN2 cannot take place, right? So no SN2, so this is cancelled out. So here elimination is highly favored, right? So if you use a strong base here like ethoxide ion, then elimination is the most favored product, right? So even at 25 degrees centigrade, you will get nearly 90% of this elimination product, right? Whereas some only few parts will be the nearly 10% is the substitution product. And this substitution will always occur via SN1, not through SN2, because it is highly hindered, right? Now let us see how temperature affects this substitution versus elimination, right? For elimination reactions, right, there is the number of products is greater than the number of reactants, right, because something is being eliminated, right? As such, what happens, the entropy, the change in entropy is positive for elimination reactions. So from this Gibbs free energy equation, we know that minus T delta S0. So if now for elimination reaction, as you go, the temperature is increased, this factor, the T delta S, as the temperature is the coefficient of this entropy change, right, this factor also increases with the increase in temperature. As such, the more and more delta G will be negative for elimination reactions, right, at higher temperature. So it will be more favored. The elimination reactions are usually more favored in higher temperature than the substitution reactions. Now lastly, we will discuss here in this section that the size of the base or nucleophile, right, base or nucleophile. This means what? See, so long we have discussed about ethoxide as the base, right, or maybe water as the base, right, or nucleophile or base, right. Even we have discussed ethyl alcohol, right. What if the base or itself is very hindered, right? It's tertiary butoxide. You can easily have this base also, right? This is tertiary butoxide. Butoxide. So this is a highly hindered base. Highly hindered. Now if this is the base, then how it will affect the our substitution versus elimination. See, now if we take again a primary alcohol or primary alkyl bromide, something like this, right? So here, as expected, if you just give a simple base, if you give ethoxide, then substitution will be favored because it is not hindered, right? But instead, if you now use this one, this tertiary butoxide, right, then what will happen? Then this base itself is so large that it cannot approach this carbon, right? As such, it will rather approach the beta hydrogen and abstract it, and will get in more this kind of product, right, rather than the substitution product. This will be more favored. So by the use of this highly hindered base or larger bases, bulky bases, we can push our balance towards towards elimination reactions rather than substitution reaction. We will now wrap up our discussion regarding elimination reactions by considering few cases where there is probability of forming more than one type of elimination products, right? Till now the examples that we have discussed, right, had only one type of beta hydrogen, right? So these beta hydrogens all are similar or equivalent, right, these hydrogens. So whatever hydrogen you eliminate, right, in all these cases they will form only one type of product. But if you have say 2-bromo 2-methyl butane, So if it is 2-bromo-2-methyl-butane, that is this one, right? So you have here one hydrogen here, or sorry, 2 hydrogens here and another one here, right? So it is 2-methyl-2-bromo-butane. Fine. Now you see these 6 hydrogens, these 6 beta hydrogens are similar. Okay, they are of same type. Fine. But you have another type of beta hydrogen also, right? So there are now 2 possibilities. If these hydrogens are that are circled with red, if they are eliminated, you get the product CH3 CH2 bond, and okay, so this is the product, right? So what will be the name of this one? This is 2-methyl 1-butene, right? Whereas if you eliminate this beta hydrogen, right, with that one is blue, that is encircled in blue, then you will have a product which will look like this one, and we have to name it 2-methyl 2-butene, right? Now the question is, which will be the major product? This is governed by what is called our Zaitsev rule, right? In some places you will see different kind of spelling like Zaitsev or Zaitsev, right? Because these are Russian names and translated in English, so they have different spellings. But the rule says that the more substituted alkane will be the major product, right? So the more substituted alkene will be the major product. Now if you consider this case, these 2 cases, right, here you see this is only a di-substituted product. This is a di-substituted, because you see along the double bond, one of the carbon is bearing only 2 hydrogens and the other carbon is bearing 1 methyl and 1 ethyl group. So these are the 2 substituents here, right? The hydrogens are not considered as substituent, so we can call these as di-substituent, right? Di-subs. Whereas in this case you see it is tri-substituted product, right? So out of 4 possible hydrogen places for hydrogen along a alkene, along a double bond, 3 of them are methyls. So this is a tri-substituted product. So according to Zaitsev's rule, this one will be the major product, right? So this is our Zaitsev's rule, which says that the most substituted alkene will be the major product whenever there is possibility of formation of more than one type of alkane. So when there will be possibility of more than one type of alkane, we have to look for different types of beta hydrogen. If there is different types of beta hydrogen, right, different types of beta hydrogen, then only we will have this Zaitsev's rule applicable. But for cases where there is same type of beta hydrogens, right, so in those cases we will not there is no need to apply Zaitsev's rule, because there will have only one type of product. Now as we have seen that Zaitsev's rule said that most substituted alkene will be the product. Now that is applicable when the base itself is not hindered, like our ethoxide, right? Now again, if we use a very bulky base like tertiary butoxide, right, CH3 So 3 CH3 or methyl groups are there. Suppose you use this bulky base. Now for this bulky base, right, these hydrogens is less approachable, right? This hydrogen is less approachable, but this hydrogen is more approachable, right? So these are more exposed. So this butoxide will rather go to this hydrogen than this one. So this will be much less possible, right? So it is less feasible, and this will be much more accessible, right? As such, in this case, if the same 2-bromo-2-methyl-butane is subjected to elimination reaction with a base like bulky base like tertiary butoxide, now this will give rise to this less substituted product as the major product, right? Now this will be the major product, and this will be the major product, and this will be the minor product. Minor product, right? Now this is applicable only when you have a very bulky base, right? Because now this base faces some hindrance while approaching the beta hydrogen, which will give more substituted product, whereas this is more accessible, right? The primary hydrogens, these are primary beta hydrogens, so primary beta hydrogens are more accessible, and it will form the less substituted product as the major product in case of bulky bases. Now this rule is called, these products are rather called Hofmann products, right? Hofmann rule or Hofmann products, right? This is Hofmann elimination rule. So with this we end our discussion about elimination reactions. In the next lecture, we'll study addition reactions.